Hi there people, I hope you've had a wonderful day, but if you're an Hcmc investor, perhaps you haven't had a wonderful day. We've seen a lot of red action recently, and even again today we are seeing a bit of sell-off, I do believe. Looking at how this one has moved from 9:30 today until now, we've seen a decrease of 7.6%. So again, another decrease in around the 7% range, and this has been the case for multiple days now. Again, I do own shares of Hcmc, so before you dislike the video saying I'm hating on Hcmc, guys, I do own about 850,000 shares, so I do own quite a lot. I'm giving you all of my thoughts and opinions on what we have seen today and what we could be seeing going forwards in this very quick video. So at the start of the video we're looking at how the stock has been moving, and then towards the end we're doing something quite unique that we haven't done in a while. We're reading some comments from both this YouTube comment section and a few from a few forums, because I know that some of these questions are questions which a lot of people have been asking, so I'm going to be doing my best to give an answer to these in the end of the video. But for the start, let's look at how this one has been moving, looking at Hcmc. Again, if you may enjoy this video, if you may enjoy looking at Hcmc daily, we make multiple videos per day, usually on Hcmc. So basically how we have been moving over the past 2 or 3 days, we've been looking at Hcmc before market opens, and then again once market closes, and sometimes we even do a shorter video looking at how Hcmc has been moving in the first few moments of markets open. If you may enjoy this, make sure to give the video a like once more, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, because as I said, we do this quite a lot. But yes, let's jump into this one. Initially looking at Hcmc over the past few days, then moving into today. We'll start off on the Google charts. Now the Google charts tell a very simple story. Hcmc has been falling for the past week. Look at the past 5-day period, we are down by roughly 20%, so it is quite a decent decrease to be fair, and it is not good to see. Now for this one we are moving over to the Yahoo Finance charts to see the overall motion of the stock over the past few months. Now if we do have a quick look on screen, we can see that this stock has been falling since about this period here. So we've seen quite a steep decrease since then. Now this was the highs that we saw with Hcmc stock. This was a long time ago, back on the 11th of the 2nd. So again, this high took us all the way up to the 0.006 range. So we went really high at the high of that day, but ever since we have been falling. Now Hcmc received a lot of hype around this lawsuit, and as I have said in previous videos, whether you think the company is good or not, obviously the lawsuit is the main catalyst at the moment. Now in yesterday's one we did actually highlight a lot of the risks about Hcmc, and people didn't like that one. People think that Hcmc is going to the moon. I do believe that there is a lot of potential for this stock, don't get me wrong, but I also think that people need to be realistic. So please do watch that video if you have not already, because we also talked about the risks associated with Hcmc. But yeah, today is seeing a pretty flat day even though we are down to the red. So once more it is another day to the red, but it's just a slow and steady sell-off that we have been seeing since this period here. So basically the stock got pumped all the way up to this point here, which took us up to the 0.06 range as I have mentioned, and again since we have been selling off. So we hit a low for a while down here at this range here. This took us around the 0.002 range, and at that point the stock did start to pick itself up by a little bit, but unfortunately it wasn't to last. So the stock hit absolute lows at the 0.009 range, but since then we have picked ourselves up, but we are starting to go down in the past few days. Now the 22nd was a much anticipated day because people thought that the stock price was going to pick itself up massively again. This was a date where Hcmc actually talked about their lawsuit potential and whether they actually had a serious case against Philip Morris. Now I believe that their case is still serious, don't get me wrong, but I think that people thought the stock price was going to 0.002 overnight. And as we have seen, yes, Hcmc does have the potential to move that fast, but let's face it guys, what we have seen so far in the lawsuit, whilst it is important, we haven't still seen anything too significant, right? Nothing big has happened. I mean, it has. We've realized that the company has a major case potentially, but obviously nothing very significant has happened, and that is what we need to remember. And for this reason, I can see Hcmc continuing to drop. Now, like I have mentioned earlier in the video, I own about 850,000 shares, so I do own quite a lot. And the thing is, guys, I went into Hcmc knowing that this stock was a risk, and I only put in what I am willing to lose. I do recommend that you do the same, and if you put money into Hcmc right now, I definitely would consider that money lost. We all know that the upside potential for Hcmc is massive, it is absolutely insane, so don't get me wrong, but of course the downside potential is something that we do need to consider as well. Looking at where the stock has been going over the past 2 or 3 weeks, I think it is possible that we could see this one continue to sell off until we have some significance around the stock. And I think that is okay. I think that is absolutely fine. I think a lot of people who got into HCMC read something on the internet about the stock going to $1 overnight and thought that this one was going to make them a millionaire, or perhaps even richer than that, a multi-millionaire. So for those people, I think it is fine that they're selling their shares. They're going to be looking at HCMC now, they're going to be seeing that they are down by a large amount, and they're going to want to sell out. That is fine. That's absolutely okay. Because, like I said, for this stock, I don't think it was a perfect investment for a lot of people, because a lot of people weren't really aware of the risks that were associated. And that is why I do recommend that you do your own due diligence before investing in this stock, especially because it is a very risky stock. But yeah, I can see a lot of people continuing to sell off, and people on the forums are speculating how low this one could go. People saying as low as 0.003. I wouldn't say that low, I would like to say not that low. I definitely can see 0.0006 as a low potentially, and we could even go all the way down to 0.003. I don't think that's too, 0.0003, I don't think that is too significant realistically. You know, if the share price was to halve from where we are right now, yes, that is important, but we all know what is happening with HCMC. This is not a short-term hold, this is a mid to long-term hold. Legal proceedings can take some time. We don't know whether this one's going to be over by the end of the year, by the end of next year. We know that Philip Morris are more likely to drag out this court case for as long as possible, because they don't want HCMC to win, right? Why would you want HCMC to win if you were Philip Morris? It just makes sense. But subsequently, what we are seeing is a lot of hype getting into this one a bit too early. People looking for these dates, for example, the 22nd, the 16th of April, which is next month. And yes, these are significant dates, don't get me wrong, but I think people are looking to these a bit too frantically, seeing that the share price is going to rocket on that date. I think we all understand that that is not necessarily guaranteed to be the case. So once more, I can see a bit more sell-off going forwards for HCMC. I don't think that's too significant. Now, something which a lot of people are going to try and pull me up on, and I know that they are, is the fact that the market has been moving in a very strange way in the past 5 days. Today is up for the general markets. Look at the S&P, the Russell 2000, which actually tracks stocks like HCMC. So the Russell 2000, if you don't already know, tracks 2,000 of the smallest cap stocks, and we can see that actually that index is up today. So again, that one is up, and the Dow Jones is also up. But it would be fair to say that in the past 5 days, Dow Jones and the Russell 2000 and also the S&P are all down, so that is okay. I can see why HCMC is moving down today as well. But on the other hand, I'm not too sure whether that is a fair argument, because we all know that HCMC has been moving down for more than a week now. So yes, while the markets are down, HCMC is falling a bit further than the general markets, and once more, I think that is fine, as people who got into this stock thinking that it was going to make them rich are probably still selling out. So I'm not too concerned about today's action, and once more, if you're looking to buy into HCMC, I definitely would consider that money lost immediately, or at least put in what you are willing to lose in a worst case scenario. Guys, we don't know how high this one's going to go if they are to win the lawsuit. We don't know what could happen. People talking about a lot of things on the potential, like possibly a reverse split and then a Nasdaq uplisting. What we need to remember is that this is not confirmed. We have nothing from the company that says this, I do believe, and for that reason we need to be very, aware of what is going on, and that the stock price isn't guaranteed to rocket still. So right now, I've been looking at a lot of comments on the YouTube comment section. Some of these are commonly asked, some of these aren't so commonly asked. We have people asking if they should sell their shares in HCMC. This is coming from the comment section on YouTube. As I have mentioned in this video, I think some people should be selling their shares in my personal opinion, and again, that is not financial advice, and the reason for that is because if you can't anticipate the stock dropping anymore, if you can't see it dropping, and if you're not happy for it to drop, perhaps it is time to cut losses and move on to something else, because in my eyes, I wouldn't be surprised if it was to drop, and hey, I hope I'm wrong, I hope it does rocket and that we all get rich, but if it is to fall, you do need to be aware that that is a potential, and it's not always a bad thing. So the second comment that we have is coming from YouTube again. This is somebody asking, what's going to happen if the stock price hits zero, nothing, absolutely nothing? Well, that's an interesting question, and I don't think that is possible. I'm not 100% sure on that again. Obviously, I am no stock god, I don't know everything about the markets, but as far as I'm aware, if the stock is to hit nothing, that would mean that nobody is holding shares anymore. And of course, people are always going to be holding shares. Now, whether that's one person holding shares, 100 people holding shares, or perhaps a million people people holding shares. Shares are always going to be held for this company, I do believe, unless the company chooses otherwise. I don't think it's going to hit absolutely nothing. I think it could hit very close to nothing, but I don't think it's going to hit absolutely nothing, and that's okay as well. So that could be a good thing as well. Now, somebody also on the forums is talking about the amount of shares being shorted. This information is coming from marketbeat.com, and it's talking about the amount of short interest in Hcmc. This was updated on the 26th of February apparently, and this information is saying that the amount of short interest right now is $646, which of course isn't a very significant amount at all. Current short volume is about 230,000 shares, so that's not really too big at all. I think that's okay. I think it is to be expected that somebody or some people are going to short this stock. I think for an amount of time, this could be an okay thing. Now, like I have said, we can probably anticipate the price of Hcmc dropping in the future a little bit more, but I think it's going to come to a point where these short people are kind of going to lose money if they hold it for too long, because once more, if they are to win this lawsuit in the end, I can see Hcmc rocketing. So people are asking, how high do I think that Hcmc is going to go? This is a very, very hard question to answer. People saying that if they are going to win the lawsuit, it could go as high as 0.002. I think it is going to go much higher than that if they are to win the lawsuit. I think that's something that we do need to remember, because we have seen highs up here of 0.006 without any lawsuit, happening at all. So if they are to win the lawsuit, I think it definitely could rocket perhaps around the 0.006 range, maybe even higher. But what we need to remember is that right now there is a lot of shares publicly traded, and again, we need a lot of things to happen for the share price to absolutely rocket. So it's very hard to say where the share is going ultimately. A lot of variables at the moment, so it's very hard to predict. Now, another person is talking about the amount of shares being 500 billion. This is actually not true. The amount of publicly traded stock for this company is more like 300 billion, which is significant. That's obviously a big decrease. It is still a high number, and that's important, but of course it is much lower than these people are anticipating. Now, people talk about how much the settlement can be. We don't know how much the settlement can be at the moment. We already know that the lawsuit, or at least the potential for this product, has about 14 million users. I do believe that the product has generated around $3 billion for Philip Morris. So again, there is a lot of potential on the table. I would personally say that if you're looking for a settlement, I would look for around a 1.5 to 2 billion settlement, perhaps even lower than that, because we just don't know how high the companies are willing to agree on. So again, a lot of stuff is going on for these stocks. I think that's important to remember. And another thing which people are saying on the YouTube comment section, and I am going to read this one as a final comment because I know it's been a long video, but people are asking why the amount of volume is not necessarily correlating with the motion of the stock price. Again, a really, really good question there. Well, the volume shows the amount of people that are buying and selling the stock, and of course, perhaps a lot of people are selling the stock. Now, once more, we have seen that volume today is around 3.608 billion. So 3.6 billion is a large number, don't get me wrong, it's a very big number, but like I have mentioned earlier in the video, Hcmc has around 300 billion publicly traded shares. So you know what, when you look at that number in comparison to the overall number of shares, it's not really that big, is it? So we're not going to be seeing too big of motion on Hcmc anyway. But as I have said, a lot of people could be selling the stock, a lot of people could be buying it and then selling it throughout the day. Who knows what is going on with Hcmc? But I think that the volume being high is a good thing. It does, in my opinion at least, still point to interest around the stock, and this is good once more. Now, just to end us off as a very, very final point, and I know it's been a long one, looking at interest over the past 90 days on Google Trends, when we type in Hcmc stock, we bring out a lot of results. Now, the absolute highs for interest were up here back on the 11th of February, where we saw the interest rocket to about 100. Now, 100, I'm not too sure what that is, but it's basically a benchmark which tells us numbers which we can kind of decipher the amount of interest around Hcmc. Now, once more, if you were to draw a straight line through this one, you can see that the general motion is down, and there is no denying that. But in the past day or so, this motion is kind of leveling out at these lows, and now the interest for the stock is kind of coming back up. Now again, it's going to be very interesting to see if this one continues to drop, or if it actually does become a bit more interesting to people, and people do continue to search it. Again, who knows what's going to happen with this one, but I think if you're looking to buy it, it's definitely more of a long-term hold. And if you're looking to buy it, I personally wouldn't buy it at the moment. Again, I do want to actually add more shares myself. I would like to add up to 1 million shares, and when I say 1 million, I own 850 846,000 to be exact. So again, if this one is to drop a bit further, I would add perhaps around another 200,000 at a much better price, and that is what I am anticipating. So let's hope that we can get a better price. Again, I still will be buying the dip, but I would only put in what I'm willing to lose, because who knows where this one is going at the end of the day. Thank you for hearing my opinions tonight though. I'll see you again tomorrow. See you then. Goodbye.